I want to talk about shame. And it's a little heavier of a topic than we normally cover with these ramblings, but I think it's something really, really important, especially in the author world. You know how it feels. You give your numbers over to a CPA or anybody else, and your first thought is, oh my gosh, what if they see XYZ? What if they see that I spent too much money on ads? Or what if they see how much money I spent on that conference that I went to, on that course that I bought? Or maybe what if they see how messy the books are, how the transactions haven't been categorized, how maybe I put things in the wrong place. And I just want you to know, as a CPA, it's okay. I don't expect anyone's stuff to be perfect. In fact, if your stuff was perfect, you really wouldn't need me at all. So I'm assuming if we're talking at all, there's an issue that needs to be fixed. So whenever I see things that are messy, when I see transactions that haven't been recorded, when I see things that are put in the wrong place, when I see overspending or whatever, I assume that's part of the problem that you need help with. It's kind of like whenever you go to a doctor. If you go to a doctor and you have a broken arm, he's not judging you for breaking your arm. He's going to take an x-ray and look at everything for the purpose of figuring out what to do about it, where to put the cast, where to provide the care. And so that's all I'm doing. Whenever we're looking at your numbers, we're just figuring out where it is we need to provide care. So this came up because I sent out a newsletter recently, and it was all about this, about shame and the things that you feel whenever you have someone look at your numbers. And it was probably the most responded to newsletter that we sent so far. And it shows me that this is something important. In fact, somebody even reached out in the community that we run saying like that newsletter was so powerful and said that maybe we could also talk about what it's like whenever you send your stuff to a CPA. What kind of things do we need if you're going to use us for anything? And what are we going to see and how is that going to feel? And what do we do with those numbers? So I want to talk a little bit about that too. So when you use a CPA, the amount of information you give is really going to depend on exactly what it is we're doing for you. So if we're doing your tax return, we need all your tax documents, W-2s, and that's going to show how much money you made from like your W-2 jobs, how much money you had withheld. It's really nothing, too shameful there. Any kind of 1099s for interest or dividends or stock transactions, investments, and things like that. Where you may start to feel uncomfortable is we will need your business information. We need to know how much money you made and how much money you spent, and we'll need to know what you spent your money on. And that's where you might start to get uncomfortable. First, you might get uncomfortable because you don't feel like you have all the things in place, or maybe you feel like you don't have any system for tracking your numbers and you feel bad about that. And you feel like you should be more on top of things. That's okay. You don't have to have the stuff perfectly in the right categories tracked or anything. We can work with whatever you have and then go from there. Now, the IRS does require that you've got documentation for everything that you're deducting. So as long as you have receipts and invoices and things like that, you're going to be okay. But whether or not you have those actually tracked in a spreadsheet, we can work through that together. And no CPA should be judging you on just how clean your records are. We always give our clients options on how to send us information and what we need and kind of educate on this is going to cost more, this is going to cost less. At the very least, if we can get like an Excel download from your online banking that shows all your transactions, and if you can help us categorize those into what they are, then that's a really good place to start, even if you didn't track anything for the whole year with any kind of bookkeeping system, just as long as you're keeping receipts and invoices somewhere so that if you were ever to get audited, you can go back to those. So that's just with taxes. But if we start working closer and closer together with bookkeeping and consulting, then we need to know more and more about your business. So if we're doing bookkeeping, then we're going to see all the transactions going in and out of your business, and we're going to coordinate on what exactly those were for. Again, it's not for the purpose of judging what you're spending your money on. It's for the purpose of just knowing where to categorize it. And then if we're doing advisory with you, if we're consulting with you on your business, on how to apply profit first in your business, or on solving a specific problem in your business, then it's going to start getting really personal. We're going to start learning about your goals, about your problems that you've been having reaching those goals, about your mindset about money, about how you think about money. And that's where it can start to feel really, really vulnerable. And I joke because a lot of times these things almost turn into therapy sessions where we're talking about like your money mindset and why you think about money a certain way and why you feel like maybe you can't earn more than you're earning or why you feel you spend money the way that you do. But again, none of it is to judge and to say that any of it is good or bad. It's just to notice. It's just data and it's information that we need to help you get to the next step. So let me give you an example. If we're working with you and we're doing any kind of advisory, one of the first things we're going to try and find out is what do you want this business to do for you personally? What kind of impact do you want this business to have on your personal finances? A lot of times this goes into debt that you might have, credit card debt that you might have, or just saving for the future, or maybe feeling like you're behind on saving or bridging some sort of budget gap. And I'll be honest, the more areas that we can identify that make you feel vulnerable, the more opportunities we have to help you fix it. So like if you go to a doctor and you don't tell them all the symptoms because for some reason you're embarrassed, then he can't prescribe the best treatment for that. Same thing with us. If you come to us and you're leaving things out and there's things that you're embarrassed about, those things you're embarrassed about are probably the areas that we have the biggest opportunities to help you, to give you the results that you're wanting to get. So after we figure out what you need the business to do for you personally, we're going to start asking you about things in the business itself. What are you currently doing? How are you selling? What are you spending your money on? How are you marketing your books? What's working and what's not working? And the not working piece is going to be really important because we're going to help you decide, is that something that needs to be fixed or maybe just stopped if it's not working? We're going to help you figure out where it is in your business you need to be focusing your time and attention to get the biggest results and to fix that next problem. But that's the whole thing. You can't fix the problem if we don't know what the problem is. And there are so many times you said on this channel that I feel like it's our job to help you shine a light into the dark corners of the room so that you can see what it is there and then address it. I know I've used this analogy 1,000 times, but I love it. The idea that the monster in the scary movie is really only scary when you can't see the whole thing. It's usually in the shadows or around the corner. Maybe you don't even see it at all. You just hear a creepy noise. And as soon as the part of the movie comes where you see the monster in all light and everything, and you can see all the pieces of it, maybe it's weird at first or gross, but then it kind of loses its scariness, right? So it's the same thing with your numbers. It's only scary usually because you don't know what they are, or it's only scary just because maybe you don't understand them. And so our job is to shine the light on it and make it less scary so that you can address it and either say, oh, it's not as bad as I thought, we're going to leave it alone, or, oh, this is what it is, and here's how we're going to fix it. And that brings me to something else related, is the idea of mistakes or their mistakes. I heard something recently, I want to say it was Warren Buffett, and he was asked, I'm going to butcher this, but I think he was asked like, what was the most expensive mistake he made, or maybe the most costly investment he made. And his response was really interesting. He said, I don't really look at it that way. I don't look at failed investments as mistakes, or I don't look at mistakes as costly, because if we make a mistake, then we learn from it and we figure out why it was that way. He said the biggest mistake he can make is not doing something that he knew he should be doing, because there's this huge opportunity cost of what would have happened had he done it. So if you try something and it fails, you have the opportunity to learn. It's basically just tuition. But if you try something and it succeeds, then you get the money from it, or you get to succeed in whatever it was you were doing. So the biggest mistake you can make is actually not trying. If you try and you fail, that wasn't a mistake at all. That's just learning. And this came up because someone that I'm working with, they ran ads for a couple of days without realizing that they had set the ads up incorrectly. And then they had to go back and fix it. And once they fixed it, the ads did really well. And they were kicking themselves saying, gosh, I wasted 2 days worth of ad spend on these ads that weren't even set up right. And if I just set it up right from the beginning, then I'd have had all this money. And I encourage them to reframe that, to think of it as, okay, no, now you know specifically what to do when you set up an ad. If you had done this and just accidentally set it up correctly without even knowing that the setting existed, then you might have made the mistake down the road when you're spending way more on ads every single day. So it was good that you made this mistake now, even if it cost you 2 days of ad spend for those specific ads, because now you know not to do that in the future whenever your ad spend is way higher and it would have been way more costly. So just know that you're doing fine. You're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. And if you're uncomfortable with what you're doing, or you're not sure if what you're doing is correct, then reach out for help. There are so many amazing author groups out there that have other authors struggling with the same thing as you. There's amazing conferences out there. We have our own community if you want to check that out. If you want to at least subscribe to my newsletter, if you haven't done that yet, then check out the link in the description, because we send things out like this frequently. And if you want some feedback from somebody who is not going to judge you about anything, and if you just want to know if what you're doing is correct, go to authorcpa.com. There's going to be a contact form somewhere on there. I'll put the link in the description, and you can reach out to me personally and ask for my advice on something. I'm happy to reach out back via email and talk about whatever it is that you're dealing with. Don't be ashamed. Your numbers are just data. It's information that you can use to make decisions, and you can get help from other people on how to use that data to make the best decisions for you and your business based on the things that you are trying to achieve. I hope this was helpful. Are there any other emotions or things that you deal with as an author, maybe negative, maybe not, that you deal with that you would like to discuss on this or to discuss with other authors? Let me know in the comments, and otherwise I will see you next time.